Okay, all right. Well, we are talking about the things no one tells you, all about developmental milestones, and I'm so glad I've got you in today. Christa has a gorgeous little one called Frankie,
Yes.
and we met at a shoot. You came
did.
along to one of our shoots, and then we realised that we both used to hang around in the same circles back in Newcastle.
I know, it's wild. Like how you come to Sydney and then meet someone years later that
We were totally hanging out at parties together.
We had
I'm
to have been.
convinced.
We had to have been. That's wild.
It is wild. And our gorgeous little Frankie, the most precious little thing, but I know when we talk about milestones that it has looked very different for you. We share many a story when it comes to developmental milestones, but Frankie was born with Down syndrome.
Yes, she was.
And so I know that a lot of what we're going to talk about today is going to be really about how milestones do look different for everyone. So now when it comes to that thing that nobody tells you, okay, that really broad question that I ask everyone at the start of this podcast, what immediately comes to your mind?
So for us, so it's quite unique to our story, is Frankie was put onto a nasal gastric tube. And so we weren't told that that could be a possibility, or we didn't know anything about that. So that to us was quite a shock. But, you know, you learn to flow.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Just take what comes at you. Winding it back a little, because obviously actually I should say this is your second child. You've got a 28-year-old and you do not look like you should have a 28-year-old.
Oh, please tell me again. Please tell me
you
again.
should not.
Yes.
But obviously the second time around, gorgeous Frankie. Now, what was that experience like for you, I guess, from a diagnosis point of view? I mean, obviously having a very different experience the first time around, but also a very long time ago. I mean, tell us a little bit about the backstory.
So we did, as a lot of parents do, an NIPT test, purely to find out gender. Like I just wanted to know, I was curious. And so we were given the report saying that there was a high probability of Frankie being born with Down syndrome. From that, we then did our normal 12-week scans at the hospital, which then they do their own testing, which then brought it down to a higher percentage that she would have Down syndrome. She was missing a nasal bone, which they're meant to have formed by 12 weeks, so that's an indicator.
Right.
And then at 20 weeks, we were told that Frankie would actually need heart surgery. So Frankie had what they call an AVSD, or a atrial ventricular septal defect.
Oh my gosh, your vocab must be extraordinary with all these new terms and names.
I've looked it up many times. So that is 50% of children with Down syndrome will be born with this particular defect. So at that point, it was pretty certain that she would be born with Down syndrome. So from there, my particular approach was not the research everything. Mine was like, let's go with whatever Frankie needs at that point, and then we'll learn about that at that point. So I guess that's where I didn't know about the feeding tube. So, but it's worked to our favour.
But in some ways, that is the way. You know, I think, and I can reflect on my own, you know, having diagnosis as well. They say don't Google this and don't do that, which is a really hard thing to not do. And I know that for Sabir, my husband, that he would be the one that would like to research probability, how long will they live, you know, all of those things which naturally you want to do. Whereas, I feel a little bit aligned in that practical approach where it's like, well, you can't change what that outcome's going to be. Let's just manage what's in front of us. Let's just go with, what the recommendations are. So I can imagine,
Absolutely. So in our first 6 months with Frankie, it was very strict feeding. So tube fed. We did try to breast and tube, but with her heart, the condition got worse as she got older. So she had no energy. Her body, basically the heart was giving blood to vital organs. So feeding would take a lot longer because her stomach was not working as well as it should. So she would throw up a lot of her feed.
Wow.
Our goal was to get to 5 kilos so she could have the surgery she needed. And that literally we would be on 3-hourly feeds for the first 5.5 months of her life.
Wow.
And at that point she was big enough to have surgery. So it took us, 5.5 months to put on 2.5 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah.
And every 3 hours?
Every 3 hours, yep.
And with this sort of bringing it back up and all the rest, like that must be so stressful.
Yeah, so with a lot of kids that have nasal gastric tubes, your life is just cleaning bottles and cleaning syringes, because you use syringes to feed them with.
Yep.
You use syringes, you have to test their tube to make sure it's in the right spot before you feed them, so that, then you've got these strips that you have to test the pH. It's a whole process. So by the time you do that, feed them, make sure that they don't throw it back up. You might have an hour between, maybe. So, you're getting no sleep, as most parents are at that time.
Yeah, but that's a lot. Like, that is a lot of mental load and remembering. And when you're sleep deprived, to make sure you're following these crucial steps, it's a lot.
Yeah. So in the time that most people are amping up to have their children crawling, we're heading in a direction of she's going to have open heart surgery, and then we basically start from the start again. So when she comes out of surgery, her head's probably worse than when she was first born. So she couldn't hold her head up. And so we had to pretty much start from the beginning again. So, it was pretty full on.
Milestones look different, I know, because a lot of the time it's really hard to put yourself in that position or to understand when you don't know. If you're not exposed to it, you don't know. But there is a lot of the comparison game out there, and this, like this excitement, and we should be proud about milestones. But I think what people will underestimate is sometimes milestones look so different for other people. And, I always follow your beautiful posts that you put, and you're like, oh my gosh, Frankie was able to sit up, which a lot of people take for granted.
Yeah, I mean, the therapies that, we use to just be able to pincer grip something.
Yes.
Like, people just take those things. I probably wouldn't say for granted, but they just assume that there's a pattern, there's a milestone pattern that happens, and it just automatically happens. Well, with children with Down syndrome and other disabilities, that's not the reality. And there's so much work that goes into just doing that one thing, chewing that thing that they've picked up. It's
the combination of picking, sensing, chewing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think I've mentioned to you about milestone meltdowns, and you
tell us.
Okay, so for those of you playing at home, I have milestone meltdowns, and so what that looks like is, we'll be working so hard on something, say when Frankie was working on sitting up. So Frankie has low tone, and so it's really hard for her to do any kind of walking, crawling, sitting up. All those things take so much more effort. Chewing, eating. The therapies that happen to just sit up is just insane. The hours that this little baby puts into therapy to be able to sit up, like, it's huge. So, I tried to, once Frankie was recovered from heart surgery, trying to get her out into the community, because she was basically isolated before that because she was so unwell. And we go to things like baby sensory, which, I'm sure we've all got stories about baby sensory, but, you see other kids that are just sitting up, and it will just take one mum to say one thing or look the wrong way at you about your child not sitting up, and knowing that my child is much older than their child, you just have a meltdown.
Yes.
And it's like, you just don't cope. You just like, you know how hard your child has been working and how difficult it is for your child. And it can just take one person innocently saying something, and that's it. Like, you have a meltdown over this milestone. That's because each child will get to that particular thing in their time.
And there are apps and things out there where they're, these developmental leaps and this and that. And it's like, no, we're trying to put everyone on the same page. And that's partly why I wanted to have this conversation. Obviously, I've also got kids with additional needs, DeGeorge syndrome, neurofibromatosis, autism. It is so different for each of them, even though, so would never put them in the same basket. And, I think it is important for others to hear about just how much goes in behind that, so that we can perhaps support those around us with a little bit more empathy, because I've definitely had meltdowns. I've definitely had comments that have built up. So, it'll be a little triggering comment across the course of a day, and you get to the end of the day and you're exhausted and, defeated, but you've also then been working your butt off with therapists and all of the rest as well.
Yeah. So I won't dismiss milestones. Like, they're evidence behind these
Yes.
things. So it's not.
And there's guardrails where
Yeah.
the doctors and experts want you to be aware of so that you know when to flag.
Obviously, it's a target. Like this is sort of how you're meant to be going.
Developmentally.
And that's great. But yes, when you've got so much pressure on you as a mum, as a parent, and then you've got a child that has special needs, so you've got extra pressure and you're laser focused on this one thing. You can just easily have a meltdown over milestones.
Totally.
Yeah.
I can see how that would happen very easily.
Got lots of stories where people will say just inappropriate things, but not to be hurtful. They just haven't been around situations before that they need to be a bit more mindful of what they're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you were to say anything about that, is it that if they don't know to ask questions or to not make assumptions or...
It's such a fine line with things like that too, because there's certain topics that if you don't know, maybe do some research. If you're going to comment, then maybe do some research before you make those comments. If you're interested, ask away.
Yeah.
I will tell you what I know, which is not everything.
Yeah.
Like I don't know everything.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you my experience.
It's a minefield, try to remember everything.
Yeah. So I can tell you from my experience, and I'm happy to answer anyone's questions, as long as they're appropriate questions, of course. But it's sort of a fine line. So if you're going to start making statements and that, make sure you know what you're talking about before making comments about, does Frankie really need all those therapies and things like that?
Oh, yeah, that's hard. And it is. And they think you're just overloading them, but actually it is so crucial. I mean, you only have to drop one thing, a speech or an OT or whatever it might be, to see just how impactful it has been for them. I mean, they come a long way, these little people. And in terms of, I guess, the support that you had around you, because obviously you've done motherhood before, you've been a mother. Do you think that you felt more able to navigate this because you had the experience previously, or did you have support around you? What did that look like?
They're just totally different experiences. So I had my first daughter when I was 16. I lived in Newcastle and I had my family. Yeah. So I had lots of support. Also had the energy of a young person.
Yeah, well,
so bounced back.
That.
Yeah, bounced back quite quickly. That was a natural birth. Perfect pregnancy. Like you're young. It's it was all fine. My older daughter, Michaela, she didn't have any health issues, just, very social. Just, everything just sort of fell into place. Yeah. Now in Sydney, we've got no family here. Very different, just different. Like you can't sort of compare the two. I don't think it prepared me for anything, to be honest. Yeah. And I know that people have said 25 years or 2 years, you still feel the same way. Like you feel like, oh, how do I do this again? So I've heard it doesn't take long. Yeah.
It's so true. I was only talking about it recently with one of the experts. It's the same thing, that every single child and experience, it's the first time you're doing it together. Yeah. This is your first time, regardless of having special needs or not. It's going to be different no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. And funny story, actually. So Frankie is Brian, my partner's first child.
Who have the cutest relationship on this planet.
Yes.
Don't they?
Yes. They are, melt.
Very,
melt
very, very sweet together.
Very sweet. Cutest. So because Frankie is his first, so we had her, she was born emergency cesarean, and we got to spend time with her. She had to be checked over by the pediatrician, and then again, once we were back in the room, she had another check. At that point, she had low oxygen. They had to take her away. So she went straight into NICU. Brian, God love him, he just thought every child went to NICU. So he'd watched American shows and saw the babies in their little things away from the parents. He thought that was normal.
Wow.
So he had a really good experience from that, as in they taught him how to do things. So because I was recovering, he learned how to change nappies and do the feeding and all that sort of stuff. So he thought it was great. Like he got to learn all this stuff while she was in NICU.
He was very comfortable and empowered, and it probably really set him off on the right.
Because he wasn't shocked, because he thought that's just what all babies did. Off they go to NICU.
There you go. Isn't that nice? Oh my gosh. Because actually it is a mindset shift, isn't it? It's like, you're not panicking or worrying in that sense. You just think they all get this wonderful.
And I can't remember how long until I that come up that he just thought that was every kid went there. I'm like, what? No, that's not how it works. She wasn't meant to go there. So
And sorry, you did say how many weeks was she born at?
she was 38-1. So
gosh,
honestly,
wow.
I had a great team. I went public. It wasn't private. And I still had the best people around me at RPA. Yes, they were amazing. So they got me to 38-1. I think if I didn't have the people that I had looking after me, she probably would have been born maybe 30 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
Because there was a lot of conversation around just got to get to 30 weeks.
Yeah.
Until I sort of got certain people looking after me, we made it to 38-1.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So
and that
amazing.
must have made all the difference, I guess, from that experience in NICU as well.
She was in NICU. She was only in NICU for 48 hours.
Oh,
and
wow.
then she moved to special care nursery. She was in the NICU special care nursery area for 3 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
And I think it would have been longer, but I cried every day and asked, when can I go home? When can I take her home?
Really?
Yeah, every day. So
It was obviously a lot.
yeah, so because she was on the 3 hourly feeds, and I was trying to pump milk for her as well. So it was a lot going on. I would get there as early as I could in the morning, and then I would go home and try and get a sleep in, and then Brian would do some night feeds, and she'd get one feed that we weren't there for.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Oh
so
my
it was
gosh.
pretty intense.
It is intense. And like you were saying, up until 5 months, also then tube feeding and 3 hourly feeds. So really that...
She pretty much did that even after her surgery, because we had to then train her to try and suck feed again, because she lost all that because she was, her heart was in failure. So she didn't have the energy to do that. Yeah. So that was a whole process afterwards. So
Now, obviously, we're talking a lot about milestones and guidelines. I mean, is it something that you still look at? I mean, there's a lot of advice out there, like traditional parenting advice with this cookie cutter approach, right? So when it comes to sleep, routines and rhythms, that looks different for everyone, whether you're a preemie or not, or have all of these other things going on, same with food, all the rest. Do you still refer to some of those parenting resources and go, oh, this is a guideline, or are you literally just working it out as you go along based on the information you have?
I want to say that I'm that organised that I'm following something, but I'm not. So I did have a rough idea of when they should be doing things purely from having a child all those years ago, but soon realised that was not going to be our playbook. And I just had to let Frankie progress at her pace. And I really have to still now, and probably for forever, take a step back and just let her drive, which is really hard, because I guess there's a lot of pressure on, they've got to have this by the time they go to school. And, a child that has feeding challenges, what does that look like when they go to school? If they're not self-feeding, if they can't eat all the things that they need to eat at school. We're getting there with feeding, so that's not a big concern for us.
You're doing an amazing job, because there's a lot that goes on behind the
scenes.
I
mean, Frankie's a legend. Anyone that meets her, she's just the greatest human. And I'm sure most parents say that about their kids, but I just think
she's pretty
she's a
amazing.
Great human. But
the school thing is a good point that you make, though, because I feel like I felt that I really had to advocate for my daughter who has DiGeorge syndrome, because that blanket diagnosis meant nothing with the Department of Education. I had to get an exemption to hold her back another year for her to start kindy, and that's because she was so delayed. She had global delays. And I knew that she wasn't ready, not just cognitively, using the toilet, she had a lot of anxiety around a toilet that looked a certain way. Obviously, she can't talk very well. She has very significant speech delays. And it is a really hard thing to navigate, because they do say your kid needs to be able to do this, they need to be able to do that. And that might not be the reality for some kids. And then there's this other layer to it where you don't know which school environment they can be in. There's all these kids that sit somewhere in the middle where maybe they might be able to go with a lot of support in a mainstream school, or maybe they have to go to a specialist school. It's just so hard to navigate.
Yeah, you're so right. It's just, you have to, as a parent of a child that has these extra needs, try and not focus on everything and really just try and narrow it down to a couple of things, because it is just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think, you've got things at school. Frankie's at daycare a couple of days a week, which is great. So Frankie can communicate via keyword signing. The educators don't currently use keyword signing, so there's that missing piece there for her where she may be trying to communicate to her educators, but they're just not picking up on the fact that she's communicating because they don't know that language.
Yes.
So, is Frankie going to go to school and communicate verbally, or is she going to be at that point using Auslan or keyword signing still?
You don't know. It's so hard when it's unknown.
Yeah.
Because you can't plan like other people. You can't plan for the future and go, like this is what we're working towards, because actually you don't know. Will they talk? Won't they talk?
Yeah. And that brings it straight back to the milestone thing is that by school age, typical children will have hit these milestones, whereas our children won't necessarily. So, and what does that look like? So it's a game of, it's anyone's guess.
Surrendering to it,
Yeah,
maybe?
you have to get to that point where you just accept that you are not in control of this, and you have to accept that it's going to look different.
Yep.
And Frankie will do those things, or she might not.
Yeah.
So, we work towards a milestone.
It's hard, but don't you think it's hard when, and this going back to the things that people say, and very innocently and sometimes with good intentions.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I used to always get, so is she going to do this or is she going to do that? And it's like, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And we're going to see how we go. And if we don't, we will work to the next thing. We might pull her out of mainstream and we might put her in a special school. We don't know.
Yeah, and those innocent comments that, I genuinely believe that it never comes from a mean place.
No.
And it's all well intended. But those things can trigger what I call milestone meltdowns, because
Absolutely.
we're already under so much pressure as parents to make sure that we're giving our kids the best opportunities that we can. And we see how hard it is on them. Like at the moment we're working on walking. And, you see, because Frankie's she's quite small for her age, which isn't uncommon with children with Down syndrome. But so she can look younger than what she is. So then an innocent question of, how old is Frankie? And then I'll say, she's just turned 2. And you can see the reaction on some parents' faces when they realise, because Frankie's still crawling and not walking. And it's as innocent as that.
Yeah.
Like it's so innocent that, but you see it on their face, and that's like, you feel like you need to explain your child to everyone.
Gosh, how many times I used to say, my child has a disability. And I feel bad saying it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like I need to give an explanation because it's like I'm doing everything I can.
And that also is a really good point. I had to stop myself from doing that.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell people Frankie's medical conditions.
No.
They don't need to know she's had heart surgery. They don't need to know she has Down syndrome.
No.
I deliberately stopped myself from doing that because I felt like I was disrespecting Frankie.
Yeah.
Like I was I shouldn't be saying it's because of.
Yes.
No, like.
You don't need to explain to anyone because this is her life and this is how she's navigating it, and it's okay if it looks a bit different.
Yes. So when Frankie was diagnosed, she was diagnosed at birth, officially. So I was like, no, Frankie's going to, she's going to have typical friends. She's going to have, at that point I was like, I don't need to be part of the Down syndrome New South Wales group. I don't need to, we've got our life. She's just going to fit into that life. That is not reality.
Yeah.
That's just not how. I tried to be part of a community play mums group, mums group. And they honestly are beautiful women. It's just not the same experience.
No.
And like seeing the conversations that they would have between each other, because they were doing what they were meant to do, which is have each other to support each other. I was just in a totally different
very
field.
isolating.
Like
It
I
feels
was just
very
not
isolating.
the same. Like I couldn't connect on anything, on any level. So we had our first World Down Syndrome Day in March 2024. And that was the first day I went, you know what? It's World Down Syndrome Day. Frankie has Down syndrome. We're going to do something for it.
Yeah.
So I just Googled. I'm like, what is happening today?
Yeah.
and we come across a Down Syndrome New South Wales event, which was a Sydney Swans meet and greet.
Oh, yeah. Got a big Swan supporter over here. Sabia's a big Swannies fan.
Well, we have some signed hats.
Awesome.
We did a meet and greet, and they were all really lovely. And we met some families that had children with Down syndrome. And yeah, from there we went to a new baby's day, and Frankie has a beautiful group of little friends that she will now grow up with. And the support is just like you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Just to bounce off. Like our kids are all different within that group.
Yes.
But it's just a different support.
It's a different support, a different camaraderie. I always talk about the club that I never knew I'd belong to, because you talk about mums clubs, and, you know, with Ish, she has something called neurofibromatosis, as you know. I didn't know until 20 months old she had it. And again, it looked very different for every kid. And it wasn't until later on we got connected with the Children's Tumour Foundation. And only through that shared experience am I learning what's possible that, you know, could happen during puberty, or I'm only learning about stomach migraines. She went to hospital a few times. We didn't know what was going on. It's a very common, you know, thing that happens to kids with NF. And then thankfully Nunu was my third born, because I didn't really need a mother's group by that stage. Again, it was navigating this thing, but it was still something that not everyone around me could relate to. And it wasn't until I started going on some of those Facebook groups, and I'm like, we are all united because actually our kids look similar. There's this, it's like, you know, everyone worries about what your kid's going to come out looking like, the mum or the dad. And we always joked that, you know, she was the milkman's kid because she had this tiny little round head, these little ears, a little hole. There were all sorts of very obvious things now looking back. And now it wasn't until I joined these groups, I'm like, wow, the facial features and all of the rest, all have that in common. So why wouldn't I want to be part of a group that is sharing experiences and answers?
Yeah, and to come to the common features, it's such a big thing in the Down syndrome community as well, because a lot of people outside of the community will say that people with Down syndrome all look the same. That's just not true.
It's not true.
It's they actually look more like their parents than they do another child with Down syndrome. Yeah. They have the similar features.
It's the features.
Correct, yeah.
It's the features.
Yeah.
And it's the same with, I guess, the symptoms, the, what do you call it? Not symptoms, the complications look different. Nunu has something called 22q11.2 deletion syndrome. That is what it's called. It's crazy. I just say to George syndrome because no one's ever going to let me rattle that off. We call it 22q. And that's because they're now working out the 22nd chromosome. Yeah. That's what's been affected. It's very similar.
Yeah.
A lot of kids can have heart problems, you know, a lot of vascular stuff going on, but then also the learning, the global delays, that kind of thing. And I think it's the same with Down syndrome. It's that, the development and how it will play out is very different for everyone. So it's not like you can walk into this thing going, oh, I know how this is going to play out.
And let's be honest here. Like I'm in two different group chats. I've got a older kids group chat so I can follow the lead of the parents, which has been amazing because they've been there and done that. And then I've got the baby parents, which are more Frankie's age, and they can be little friends, and everyone's friends with everyone. And
do you think that's because you've been a mother before that you know that there's so much insight that you can learn from people that have been there before?
It was a fluke. It was a fluke that I ended up in these groups. So we do, as part of Down Syndrome New South Wales, we do a new parents Zoom call every 2 weeks. And so I met a few of the mums on this group chat. One mum in particular, she was going to the same therapy that we were. And I don't know how, but she added me to these other WhatsApp groups. And it was just a fluke that I got onto these. So I love these ladies.
You're so lucky, I think. And that's what I think people don't realise about, say, social media and these groups and these connections, that it can feel very isolating for those that are not walking the same path. My beautiful neighbour, Lucy, her 20...
Is it Amelia?
No, Lucy.
Is the daughter named Amelia?
No, it's
I was gonna say if you say her name
Patrick.
I was gonna say if her daughter's name her daughter is Amelia, I'm gonna flip out.
Oh, how funny. That would have been a really good coincidence.
So
but I do, there was a girl at Bondi Public School, actually, I shouldn't say this on camera. I'll tell you about that in a minute, maybe. But yeah, so Lucy, Patrick's got Down syndrome. Patrick's in his 20s. She lives 2 doors down. And she's just always been that lovely neighbour that I know just knows. And do you know her?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
But she's just been that voice of reason, whether it's been the NDIS, whether it's been, checking in on me. Like, she's just so lovely. And actually, they just went travelling recently and she saw that I had the sunflower thing. So she went and got it. And we were, she was sending me photos of Patrick at the airport going, oh, it was such a breeze. They were so lovely. And it's just, it's that camaraderie I think you feel with people that just get it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be just a Down syndrome community. Like, when you have a child that has challenges and you see a parent that has a child with challenges, you just like, yeah, I got you. I got you.
Yeah, I know the depth of what you're going through.
Yeah. We just managed to get into this beautiful play group, and we started in a supported play group. Obviously, Frankie has some challenges, so they offer a supported play group more for the parents to. It was like my therapy every week. I'd just go in and be like, this is great. She eventually graduated to just the normal, I shouldn't say normal, the Mondays play group with all the children. Very overwhelmed.
And I love that you just thought and rethought and corrected yourself there, because I think people are so scared to say the wrong thing, but actually us navigating it for the first time, we're trying to also learn the language and the right thing to say and the wrong thing to say, and because I always catch myself.
Always. And I've never been a person to be like, oh my God, you said the wrong thing. Like, I've never been like that. We're all learning together.
We're trying to learn together.
This is new to me as well. Like, and it's new to everyone around me. So we're all doing this for the first time together. So,
she graduated.
She graduated. The prerequisite was she just had to be crawling, because it's a toddler group. So there's a lot of kids running around, and it's quite chaotic. But I said to one of the educators there that I've never felt like Frankie isn't part of the group.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful group of people and like, shout out to the parents, because they're just really doing what they should do and not making Frankie to be different to their children.
Yes, exactly. Again, going back to that community. So I put Nunu in the mainstream school for that very reason. I said, I just want her to feel included. I wanted to feel a sense of a community, to be where her siblings are, and not to feel like this kid that has this thing. And maybe that might change as she gets older, and I'm open to that. But I think, just having that sense of belonging and letting them feel like they can fit in, and, it changes as they get older. I want Nunu to do dancing, and I went to take her to the same studio her siblings went to. But no, they'll only accept the kid in the same year group as what they are, and it's bloody hard for a 6-year-old to be in that dance group. And, these are companies that preach inclusion, and it gets me so upset. So I feel like the advocacy and the checking in with those things, it really does keep going.
If I knew how to dance, I'd start one for you. But I am a terrible dancer, so I will not be doing that.
I reckon we could have a bit of a dance and have a bit of fun.
Look, back in the day, we probably did. So it's that one's a tough one. That one's a tough one.
And I'm guessing for you, like you're saying, if you find the right environment and the right people and it works, that can make such a significant difference.
For you as the parent, the milestone thing, it's just like, when that's not to be made out the be all and end all, and it's not a big deal, and your child is part of the community, whether or not they can walk, like, that's huge for the parent, because we have so much pressure on us to get them to that point. When we can go somewhere where we feel safe and we feel like we're not being judged. And unfortunately, that's just, hopefully the world changes a bit. But I'm
really hoping. That's my mission. And this is why stories like yours are so important, because inclusion and kindness, and the earlier you can teach your kids how to respond, when there are differences. And it starts at home. It starts with educating parents. How do we bring up this next generation of kids to just see everyone for who they are? Yeah,
and it's funny. So when Frankie had her feeding tube, I had this lovely elderly woman, like, go straight for me from across the road to come up to me and say, what's wrong with her? So that's old school. Like,
Wow.
yeah. So that's how it was. Now you get children, they'll just innocently say, oh, you've got a thing.
Yeah.
And then off they go.
Yeah.
And it's like,
The kids are they're not ingrained with these judgments or these things.
you've got a tube. Or they don't even know what it is. You've got something in your nose, and off they go. They don't care. They're like, oh, yeah, that's what she's got. Okay,
exactly.
Cool. Like, it's
simple explanations.
Yeah, and
don't overcomplicate stuff.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, it's amazing. It's to see the children flourish in the right environment is just, it's beautiful. And when you can see the adults in that situation really make that for not just your children, but the children around your children, like, it's beautiful. And when milestones are not, the focus of that play date or that educational moment, like, it is such a good feeling for everybody. Yeah.
I'm going to leave you with a quote and I'm not going to. I'm terrible at remembering things for what they are. But it was about if a flower doesn't grow, you change the environment around it. And that's exactly what you're saying. If you've got the right support, the right environment, the right approach, these little individuals can just absolutely flourish and be the amazing people that they are with the support and love they deserve.
Yeah. I agree.
I have had such a good time chatting with you because I feel like we could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and I would love to. And I'm desperately going to get you back in again because I think there's so many things I want to expand on there.
So much.
But yeah, it's been really lovely to have your perspective because I think more people do need to, think a little bit broader and look at milestones a little differently. And like you say, it's not just to dismiss the fact that they are important, those guide rails are there, but to actually recognise that there's people like you that are working so bloody hard to, meet their child's needs and give them the best thing that they possibly can have.
And be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself. We're all doing our best.
Are you being kind to yourself?
Well, no, but, it's always easier to give the advice than take the advice. But I'm trying. I'm doing better. I'm doing better.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing an incredible job. And Frankie is so lucky to have you. Thank you. I just think, there's just something pretty special about, understanding each other. And,
I think so too.
And getting it as well. So, no, you're doing an incredible job. And my lasting comment will be, I never forget the moment that someone, with everything going on with my kids, asked me if I was okay, and I broke down in tears. And that was the first time someone stopped. So, I think for anyone out there, anyone listening, if, someone is navigating this stuff, maybe check in with them because, it
does make the world of a difference. Like, it just really does. It is isolating, but,
there's good people out there.
There's good people out there. Yeah. Be kind.
I want to give you a big hug.
Why not?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been so good. I am going to give you a hug.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Thank you. You are so amazing. You're